What is going on, you guys? This is Chris back with Grind Hard Fitness, and today we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna do a little sit down and talk. And right now we're pretty much at our most, you could say, vulnerable or comfortable. We're at home. It's a Saturday night. I know you here is just helping out with some laundry. So if you guys hear like the dryer or whatever in the background, just excuse us. We just want to be as comfortable as possible to share what we have to share today. A few days ago, I asked you guys to drop some questions about my past life and how I got to where I am today. So without further ado, I know he's going to be here kind of helping us out to keep this conversation going for you guys. So what was one of the questions they had for us?
So one of the first questions was, how'd you deal with overcoming the fear of giving up drinking?
So the fear of overcoming the drinking honestly was just a personal choice. I was tired of feeling like shit all the time. I was tired of pretty much feeling miserable every single time I drank, just being hungover, not realizing the things that I got myself into. Um, and I realized it wasn't taking me anywhere. And it was also financially just draining me because all the work I was putting in, whether it was DJing or my 9 to 5, um, I was just waiting on payday to go all out to do the drinking. And I was still drinking pretty much daily leading up to payday. But I got tired of just being stuck in the same situation all the time. Life was very repetitive. I didn't really have any ambition other than just partying when I DJ'd and just getting to work and even feeling miserable at work. So I guess to answer the question, I had to overcome myself first, like realize that I needed to change, and that's what ultimately led me to giving up drinking.
When that was happening to you, like, I guess, were you already like getting your AC license, or was that after?
So when I started getting like heavier into drinking, was when I left the medical field, and I know it sounds pretty shitty, but I left the medical field and went straight back to working at like Domino's, and this is where I was like, I guess, this is what I was meant to do. So just go back to what I already knew, you know what I mean?
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I went back to Domino's after the medical field, and then I was just same thing, just drinking and partying all the time, and like I started DJing more, and I tried doing college again to see if I got like another license for the medical field, and it just kind of went to shit because I stopped going to class. And anyways, after that, just basically giving up on my classes and having to pay this tuition for classes I never even finished. Um, I worked for O'Reilly, and this is where I met other people who kind of like, I don't want to say they were bad influences, but we were always just chilling. Does that make sense at the time? And they're still great people. I talk to a lot of them even till this day, and they honestly do still support the journey. So I really appreciate them. But anyways, I was in an age where I was like, you know what, it's cool. We're just gonna chill, drink, and smoke or whatever. Um, so again, I had one of those moments where I was like, what am I doing? And I just one day got up and was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go to work anymore. I'm not gonna go to O'Reilly. I'm done with it. I'm done. I need to do something better with my life. So I went to Mexico and I lived there for about 2 months or so, and I was living it up. And when you're in Mexico, you're like chilling and everything's like fun and what you know how
The
it
days
is.
don't end.
The days don't end. You just do whatever you want, especially if you're taking dollars. You can do a lot. So my cousin started telling me, why basically, why was I there if, I'm a citizen? I have a lot of opportunities, some opportunities they wish they had. And it made me realize I need to come back. So when I came back, I got my AC license and I started making a little more money again. At this point, I didn't give up drinking yet, but I was starting to find myself, find a rhythm. And about 3 years into working in the air conditioning field, um, basically it was like getting harder to work, and like people were like, dude, this.
And that's when you started like.
Yeah, so they were like, you get your shit together, or, pick up the quality of work type of thing. And That's when I decided to lose weight. And
That kind of leads us into our next question, actually, because the next one is balance okay? But first off, I'm actually pretty surprised at your whole little story, because I didn't know it went down like that.
yeah, so that's why like it's hard to share because like I went through a lot, and like I guess looking back at it, it's crazy how like you can go through all these things and still like hide it from people.
Yeah,
And I guess you could say people now I see how depressed people unfortunately end up like ending their own lives without anybody ever realizing what they're going through because you can hide it so well.
yeah,
So that was my thing. I was hiding all this abuse to myself through drugs and alcohol with nobody really realizing. And even if they did, I played it off like I was having a good time. And deep down, I knew that it was killing me, if that made sense.
yeah,
And just, I decided to just give it up cold turkey, decided to just stop drinking and go into this, like, this time of losing weight, I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit to myself.
yeah,
So it was really get up and do it. And this is where Hustly Renee comes in. I was watching his YouTube specifically when I was like what the fuck am I doing right now? Like
Yeah.
I was literally snacking and watching him, and I was like, what is he doing that I could be doing? And I was like, first of all, I'm sitting here eating, watching him, so I'm gonna just go to the gym. So that's when I decided that. But the question was the balance.
is balance okay?
Is balance okay? Realistically, yes, balance is always going to be okay. But for me, because it felt and I knew and I was aware that it was an addiction, balance was not going to be okay. Like it was either I give it up or I don't
At all?
at all. So that's why I decided. So anybody can, if you can balance it, more power to you. But me, obviously, as a trainer, if I'm training you, I'm going to be like, you know what, let's not do this. Because I'm coming from a personal experience of what it can lead to. So balance is okay, but caution, and it's up to you. And obviously you have to be super safe. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You can get stuck in situations that can lead you to really bad things. Like I've lost friends who have died in car accidents. I've had people go through really, really bad things, and that's the last thing I want for anybody, especially coming from that type of addiction.
Yeah. By any chance, do you remember the day that you stopped drinking? Like how did it go down? Like, okay, I'm a drinker, and then the next day I'm not. Like what was that little switch like?
So in my journey in general started specifically, and I cannot forget, January 14th of 2019. The exact day that I had my last big binge and drink. I can't tell you the exact day, but I know it was in January of 2019. I was hanging out with some friends, and we were just drinking and smoking and just like chilling at their house, having a cookout. And I started mixing my drinks. Like I started with beer, and then I started putting liquor and whatever. And the last thing I remember is taking a shot, and I started throwing up. And that's the last thing I remember. Like I have no idea how I got home. The next day I had no idea where my truck was. Like I got to work, and all of my coworkers were like, what the fuck happened,
Yeah.
That's the last thing that I remember, and that's when I was like, what, fuck it.
I know these are like painful memories for you, but on my end, this is, I don't want to say exciting, but it feels very, because you've told me this story before, but it wasn't this in depth.
Yeah.
It was, I got the part of, what do you call it? The I didn't know where my truck was.
Yeah.
That's the part I got. But I didn't get the detail how things happen.
And there's actually a picture somewhere out there on my Instagram where they took a picture of me passed out. So
Yeah, you showed it to me when we were dating.
That's how pretty much like my memory of why the fuck I gave up on that. So yeah.
So something occurred to you basically that you
Yeah,
were just like, no.
Yeah, it was like, and keep in mind, this is me like, I'm gonna give up drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I started going more towards food, and like, I guess when you have a what do these call it, like a personality that's very like an
Stubborn?
addiction.
Oh,
No,
okay.
like an addiction, if that makes
Oh.
sense. I switched from like started switching from like alcohol to food, and then started combining both, and then
Yeah.
and then it didn't help that I was like constantly smoking and like constantly doing all this stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like it started mixing together where I was like, I'm probably gonna die.
Yeah.
And there are also pictures of me, which I did not tell my family why I felt bad, but there are pictures of me like wired up to like the EKGs of like why I have like a fucked up heart rhythm and
Yeah.
And honestly, I think if anybody saw it, but maybe subconsciously she knew that it was happening, but didn't say nothing, was my mom, because she was always going to like the parties and the club with me. I know it sounds dumb, but like she was very supportive in my DJ career, so she was always there.
Yeah.
And it's like she always saw me drinking, but again, I always played it off like I was having a good time, so maybe it didn't really concern
Yeah.
her.
Well, one time me and your grandpa were talking, and he was telling me that like he sometimes wished he would have said something to you, but he felt like you needed to figure it out on your own, regardless of how long it was going to take you.
Yeah, so I guess those are the things that I kind of had to learn the hard way. I guess
Yeah.
almost like losing my own life and realizing like what am I doing with my life? Like I felt like I was honestly just wasting time. It was better off for me not to be here
Yeah.
because it was like I don't have a career. I need to figure out what my career is gonna be. To like all I'm doing is like partying and I still don't have any money because I'm constantly drinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot to take in.
It was one of those things. Well, I met you already once you had already like left that lifestyle, like the point where I met you was whenever you were like already like zoned in, like this is what you were doing, this is where your plans, you were like, because I think like our third date, you were like, I want to open a gym, I want to be a trainer, kind of thing. So I already knew that's kind of like a lo que le tirabas,
Yeah.
I guess let's talk about that transition because there was a year gap between that moment and like
So
that following year that we met.
yeah, so the decision to like change was from January 2019 up until we met in June 2020.
Uh-huh.
So in that year and a half, I guess it started with just like
You got on your grind.
it was like straight grind. Like again, Renee, I asked him, how do I diet? Like I don't know shit about this. And he kind of loosely gave me macros, to follow. I didn't know what the fuck macros were, first of all. But I was like, you know what? He's like, just do chicken, rice, and broccoli. You'll be all right. So I literally portioned chicken, rice, and broccoli. And that's what I ate every single day. And then I started kind of like YouTube, like searching and like figuring out what works for me or like, the fat diets. And I came across Goody Beats, which at the time he was pushing a lot of like the keto. And at the time, pre-COVID, keto was like everywhere. This when they were coming out with keto product, like
Keto
everything. Was the thing. And so I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And I got really good at it to where I was like pretty much having no carbs. Like
you were keto for a year.
Keto for 1 year, and that's how I lost basically like 100 pounds. And I was like, hell yeah. And keep in mind, through this phase, I started meeting people through like Herbalife and like, like I said, you go through the fat diet phase and trying to figure it out. And I met these people and I was like, you know what, this Herbalife thing just isn't for me. I'm gonna just continue with my keto and keep on going. Yeah. And so keto really helped me. And then for the full year of 2019 to 2020, and then I want to say, so the pandemic started in March, right? So literally in January of 2020, I was like, I'm gonna do carnivore, because this is when carnivore started getting popular, of just only eating meat and nothing else. So I did that, and then the pandemic happened. I was like, well, shit, now I can't find no meat. And I don't know where the fuck I got the term, but I kept saying I'm a reverse diet, meaning I was gonna add like carbs back in and lowering my fats.
Yeah.
And
you probably got it off a video you watched at some point.
Maybe at some point, but like actually,
by the time we met, that was all you consumed.
Carbs
and
So I started doing this thing called the Quarantine Chronicles when I was quarantined from COVID.
Yeah.
And so for the 2 weeks I was like podcasting every day, and I actually started explaining of how I started dropping my fats and increasing my carbs, and started doing like my runs and bicycle and whatnot. I was just trying to figure it out because I was scared like shitless because I didn't have a gym, and I was like, fuck, I need to do something because my obsession was the scale, and like no matter how much I changed, like I was always chasing.
This was your anxiety moment.
Yeah, this is
you know. So, because you know how a lot of people are like, damn, I'm gonna lose my progress. You know, this was your moment where you were like, God damn, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, so literally I was like, I have to get low weight, get the lowest weight I can, and like, you know, I was always chasing a number.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was so obsessed with it, and then like right after I got out of quarantine, because right when I was quarantined, they started opening up things little by little, and Alphacetics was open, but I was still on quarantine, so I couldn't go. So like after I got out of quarantine, I went to like Alphacetics, and this is where honestly I started like learning more about like the weight training part, because I learned, and you know that it's not about the number. This, you know, Angel was always like, dude, chill. You know what I mean? So I started weight training and like started looking more at the physical changes, if that makes sense. And again, going back to the YouTube, Goody Beats actually did a bodybuilding show at the time, and this is when it dawned on me. It's like, why don't I bodybuild? Like, I want to look good like that. And in my head, because I saw like the veins popping and all that, I felt like I could do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was just like skinny as hell, so that's the only reason why I was lean like that.
You look good though. I thought you did.
Well, yeah, you saw me the first time with my shirt off. She saw me with my shirt off, and that's how she fell in love. But
I was just giving a compliment.
But yeah, that's how I kind of started getting into like bodybuilding, because I was like, hell yeah, I could see myself doing this. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of clicked, and I kept watching it. And
this kind of feeds into our equipment question. So you started doing the bodybuilding thing. At the time when you first did it, were you already planning on doing it with PEDs, or were you not going to do it with PEDs? What was your, like, I guess, mindset at the time?
So bodybuilding in general, I was just kind of in it to be like, I want to compete, but obviously I knew that I needed to do something extra to be competitive, because like I said,
You wanted to do it to be competitive, not to just like say you wanted to do it.
Correct. I had a purpose. So like I started questioning myself, like, do I want to bodybuild, like literally bodybuild? And that's when I remember I did my first bulk when we started dating. So this is when I started bulking for the first time, and then, you know, I started like really putting on the size, and like, again, it was a fear of like putting on weight and getting fat, but I knew it was part of the process, because I started researching bodybuilding and like, you know, growing and, you know, things like that. I was still learning. I didn't have any guidance, so I bulked up, and I was like, maybe if I cut again, I'll look different. You know, that I had that in my head. So I did that cut. So from the summer of 2020 to the beginning of 2021, I did a really hard bulk, and I started growing because I was like, I'm gonna bodybuild one day. And then in 2021, we did just a lifestyle cut, you know, because we were gonna do the Shredding Diaries event and promote, you know, cutting with the gym and whatnot. So I think I was like 2 weeks away from that first summer shredding event at Alpha League. This is when I discovered summer shredding, and I was like, this is my opportunity. It's like, I'm just gonna do it. I was already cutting, so I was like, let's go ahead and prep for it. So once I saw what I looked like at the end of that prep, I was like, yeah, I definitely need to step up my game and enhance.
Yeah.
So
at this point, you were in love, so you were like, I'm doing this.
Yes, like I was like committed to the bodybuilding for the first time. That's when I did transformation, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. So to set the record straight, I lost all the weight, and I bulked up for the first time naturally. Again, I cut back in 2021. So I took my first testosterone injection like in April of 2021, and I competed in June of 2021 at summer shredding for the first time. So just so people that know, I did all the work. You know, it was a grind. It was truly about finding myself. It was truly about finding my purpose, and then making the decision myself to commit to bodybuilding and pretty much taking it to the next level.
Yeah. Do you consider PEDs a drug? Is our question that's coming into this.
Okay, so yes, PEDs are definitely a drug, but the way I look at it, my outlook on life, and I'm pretty sure people who are in the fitness industry that take it seriously, not just say, you know, for the clout, you know, this is what I do. Um, it's called an enhancement for a reason. I felt like it enhanced my life, my lifestyle. I definitely feel a lot better than when I was bigger. I definitely feel a lot better than when I drank. I feel a lot better than when I was smoking very heavily. So this is doing something with a purpose, with guidance and being careful, enhancing my physique, honestly, enhancing my mentality because I'm so strict. Because when you take PEDs, you have to be like, I want to say 10 times a lot more strict with your lifestyle, especially with your eating and your habits, to make sure that nothing goes wrong with you because you can have like a heart attack. You can, you know, all the things you hear about PEDs. But to me personally, it's been one of the better decisions of my life because like I was already doing dumb shit. Like this is honestly the best one I can say. You know, although it is dangerous, it enhanced me for the better because it taught me to be the person I am today.
So, in your eyes, you don't consider it a drug because it's not doing what drugs and alcohol did to you.
Correct. To me, it's not like one of those, you know,
You-
hardcore
You
like.
weren't abusing it.
Yeah, I wasn't abusing it, and I'm still not abusing it
Yeah.
as much as a lot of people find it hard to believe. I do have guidance, and I do it responsibly. Um, like I said, it's bettering my career. It's bettering my health personally. I feel like, and you know, if I feel great, you know, I put out a lot more production. I'm a lot more efficient. I, you know, just overall better.
Hmm. And well, we can go into our grind hard now. How this kind of, I guess you could say, I don't want to say affects, but how grind hard fitness gets involved in this.
So you're saying the way Grand Heart Fitness gets involved into like the bodybuilding and like.
Yeah, the gym, because I mean they're two completely different aspects of our lives. Because I feel like people don't see that how I guess I don't want to say enlarge our lives are, but our like the relationships me and you have,
Yeah,
we have like 5 relationships me and you.
yeah. So
You know, like
we have number one, our marriage is number one. And I want to say another super important one is like the spiritual life we have together now because
yeah,
that's something that I wanted to also be better at leading into this healthy lifestyle is spiritually also be healthier. And again, you know, God does things for a reason. When we started dating, going into getting engaged, you know, we started going to church together. And I feel like that's a relationship that we continue to work on. And then we also have our business relationship being partners. And then we have our relationship as in like how do we push each other in bodybuilding? Because like although I am the one on stage, it's team effort because you're basically here holding me accountable, you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't see how those things align. The way bodybuilding helps us with grind hard is like honestly marketing and people help us. Basically, bodybuilding is helping me learn about myself so that I can help others, bringing that to the table for grind hard, if that makes sense. Now, grind hard in turn, obviously, the more we build it together, the bigger community we grow. You know, we're fortunate enough, and I don't like to like put it out there like that, but ultimately, financially, it creates a better lifestyle for us at home.
yeah,
Which again, we don't live outside our means, but it pays the bills basically.
yeah. I mean, a lot of it's like from the part we started like a year ago where we were a year ago. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Different,
because
yeah.
you know whether I don't know if they know or not, but we were going through a really really rough time when we started grind hard, and again
I
things
would say
happen for a
for, like,
reason.
9 months, 10
Yeah,
months.
so it was. I'm talking about tough, like financially hard, the hardest year. But again, we never stopped working, we never stopped grinding because uh, our community means so much more to us than what we could ever own, you know, because without our community, we would be nothing. So,
Yeah.
Grind Hard Fitness and everybody that follows it, you know, we truly appreciate you guys because you guys are what helps us grow as a community, as a business, and you guys let us live off of this. So, thank you
So, what are your future plans
for Grind Hard.
for
So, future plans for Grind Hard Fitness and my vision, again, with whatever time it takes, is moving, but not just moving into a bigger space. My ultimate dream is like finding a place we can call home for Grind Hard, like a permanent home.
Mhm.
A vision of, I mean, I may be exaggerating, 10,000 square foot, you know, a nice posing room. You know, that's not just for posing. Maybe we could find somebody who does cycling or does Zumba, whatever, you know, find this room for people to do other activities. Have an indoor slash outdoor training facility so that, you know, those nice summer days you can go outside, get some fresh air. We can open up the garage doors, you know, things like that. Not only that, we want to create a community of people like we do currently, just at a bigger scale. You know, have a lot more people come in, a lot more members, a lot more trainers that they can call, you know, Grind Hard Fitness home. Because as much as we want to live off of Grind Hard, I would love to see other trainers succeed in their careers. And hey, if Grind Hard Fitness Gym is the place for them, then that's where we want them.
Yeah, that's very true.
So those are definitely plans. Short-term goals, definitely continue to improve our current facility and listen to what every member and client has to say so that we can better the experience for everybody. Again, it's a slow process because we started from the bottom and we try to do everything basically paid out cash to not owe anybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So although it is a slow process, we do it from the heart, and I hope everybody sees the reflection of that hard work through our
Yeah.
facility.
I mean, I see it. I guess you could. I feel. I don't know if it's different since we are the ones that like did the work. I guess you could say. But for me, at least, I know the hard work we put in, and I know exactly what we got back. You know, because I feel it and I see it. So, for me, it's not. It's. I guess you could say almost uncanny.
So I don't even know how to put it into words with Grind Hard Fitness. Like, I still remember the day, even though we were already like training there and stuff, had people there. The day we cut the ribbon, I remember crying, and I don't think that's a feeling that I'll ever forget. No matter how much we grow or how like years down the line, how much the company grows, I'll never forget the feeling of
Cutting the ribbon.
cutting the ribbon at that first location. So definitely, I think Mesquite has treated us well, and I don't see us really moving too far from Mesquite. And ideally, we stay in Mesquite.
I see no reason to, honestly.
Yeah. So our whole goal for anybody who's watching is to kind of keep it in the same general area as close as possible. You know, it just ultimately depends what's available at the time. And there goes that damn washer.
It's so long.
With Grind Hard continuing to grow, I guess it's just kind of a never-ending
Ending.
question because
Yeah.
like we're constantly and always gonna continue to try to push our own limits.
Yeah,
And-
and we're always talking about it, you know, week by week. We're talking about changes. In like 5 years, where we're gonna be, you know, small conversations like that. We talk about it all the time. And that's one thing I do feel like people don't see, I guess you could say. Because when you, like, let's say you're a member, right? And you walk into the gym, like, let's say you've been coming like a month. Conversations like that, you don't see them immediately. You'll see them in like 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
But for our members that joined, like, well, who joined right when we opened? And still is.
You got Javier, Cecilia.
Javier, yeah, like people like them, I feel like they've seen those conversations in action now because they were there when we opened, like literally when we had nothing, and now we have so much more.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
were literally there, our soft opening, when we had the tiny mirror in front of the dumbbells.
Yeah, they were there.
We had like no flooring.
Yeah,
So, you know, I hope you guys are watching, but, you know, to see those members like turn around and come back, especially when they take like break,
Yeah.
especially them with like their pregnancy. And
Yeah.
congratulations, guys. You know, them coming back and be like, whoa, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
You know, that's the best feeling because they see the work that we put in and the sacrifices that we make in our personal life to make that possible go a
Yeah.
long way as well.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like I said, I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of, you know, the freedom I could have personally so that every single member has a better experience.
Yeah. Same.
So sometimes, hey, you guys never know, and these are things that we never open up to. Maybe the reason we eat chicken and rice every time, other than bodybuilding, is so we can cut costs at home, so we can maximize our facility.
We really do cut a lot of costs because whenever was it last year?
Yeah,
We didn't have to eat chicken and rice, but I mean it was cheap.
it was
you know?
cheap. We're not cheapskates, but we do
Yeah.
minimize things at home again, so we can maximize
Yeah.
our business. And it is what it is, you know. At the end of the day, and like these are conversations that I typically don't share and open up with, but there's no better way for you guys to get to know us than actually sharing these details. Again, opening up our home, sitting here on a Saturday night, just really conversating with whoever decides to listen.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it for
This week.
this week, and I hope you guys leave comments and more questions for us to answer for you guys. So hope you guys have a good